Today I'm going to share my winning tips to set up the absolute best virtual workspace. Yes, many of us have been working virtually on camera for many years now, but it's worthwhile taking 5 minutes to just ensure that you are presenting yourself in the best way possible. These tips are simple and I guarantee they're doable. All eyes on me. Hi, I'm Jane. Welcome back to my channel. Before we start, if I could ask you to subscribe and like, that would be brilliant. Let's dive right in with these winning tips. I have 5 key tips and a little additional one so we can get that polish back into how we present ourselves virtually. Now, the moment we started working from home, working away from the office, it was a huge benefit for many people and made their lives easier. But what we lost was that in-person contact, the handshake, the going into the room, the small talk, the sensing the energy of the people around us. We've lost that because we're now sitting one step back behind a screen. So how do we try to mimic or imitate that setup that we had in real life? The first of my 5 tips is your camera height. This is critical. If at all possible, aim to get your camera lens eye height with your eyes. It needs to be in line with your eyes, eye height. This way you're going to look the most natural. In an office, we didn't speak looking down at people, we didn't look speaking up at people, we looked them in the eye, and they were usually round about our eye height. So try to imitate that again by raising up the lens of your camera. Now, if you have a remote camera, that's obviously easier. If it's on your laptop and it's a bit more difficult, then maybe you can learn to raise the laptop up on books or boxes and save that for that very big client pitch or maybe the important presentation. So you're going to get it at eye height. What you're aiming for is that the lens of the camera, your head, and the wall behind you is all in line. They need to be all in line, parallel to each other. If you can see yourself and people can view a lot of your ceiling, you need to adjust the camera. Remember, we're trying to imitate what we had in real life. So camera height is critical. The second thing is light. No, you do not need to be lit up like a Vogue model with a lot of fancy equipment. You simply need a source of light behind your laptop, behind your camera. This can be a window. This can be a table lamp. Personally, I prefer a table lamp, a student-style angle poise lamp, anything that you can rely on. The window is great, but if it's a grey day or rainy, you'll end up being in shadow. A source of light behind your camera is going to illuminate your face. Why does this even matter? Well, again, we want to imitate what we had in real life, where people were close to you and they could read all those microfacial expressions, the little smile, the frown, the eye contact, the good smile, your great posture. You need to make sure people can see those. So avoid having a gloomy room or having half your face in shadow. A simple lamp on the other side of the camera will solve that problem. So now we've got the height of the camera, we've got good light. Now we need to judge how far or how close are we going to be. Again, in real life, we never spoke right up against someone, and we certainly never addressed someone from the other side of the auditorium. So we're trying to find that perfect sweet spot in between. You don't want to be too close to your camera, you don't want to be a tiny little speck far away. My advice is that you go for about a third and a third and a third. The top of the camera lens should hit you round about eye height and maybe go down to about waist height, as though you were sitting behind a desk in real life. If you show that part of you and a little bit of space on either side, that usually hits that perfect spot where you look natural, you're not too far, and you're not too close. So remember, proportions and distance from your camera matter. The 4th point is background. Now this is entirely a personal thing. You can decide exactly what background you want. But for my winning tip, I always say to clients, go with one and done. So in other words, people should look at your background once and then never really look at it again. You don't want such an interesting background that people are more focused about reading the title on the book behind you than they are on paying attention to your message. If you're doing a major client pitch or speaking to important senior people in your business, you don't want the background to have a box of laundry or something sitting that looks messy. We're trying to keep it looking as professional as possible. So this doesn't mean it needs to be picture perfect. It can simply be a plain wall. It could be a screen. It could be a branding image from your company. Whatever you choose to do, one and done. People should pay attention for the first time you're on camera, and then it should virtually just go and be part of the background. This is fairly simply attained. You don't have to do something complicated. Just keep it professional, clean, tidy, simple. Then we need to talk about noise. Noise is such a difficult thing. When we were in office settings, it wasn't common that there was a crying baby one room away. It wasn't common that someone was crashing around in a kitchen one room away. So when we get into our home offices, our home workspace, we need to try to keep that same level of noise. Now, this can be very difficult for people who are in smaller quarters with a lot of other people around, which is many of us. There's other people working from home, there are pets in the house, their neighbors, etc. So consider some sort of dedicated headset, microphone, something that's going to cut down on the noise. If you don't have that, then try to figure out the areas around you that you can cut down on noise and make a plan according to that. Maybe close a door, close windows, ask someone to keep it down. You're in an important meeting, just something that's going to give you that image that you're presenting yourself as professionally as possible. The last point, and this is quite an odd one, are the chairs. And this is because a lot of us burn off excess energy by moving in a chair. So if you've got a swivelly chair like this, or you've got a chair that you can rock back and forward on, that can be a distraction to other people. Yes, in a regular everyday meeting, if you're moving slightly side to side, it's not a big deal. But remember, if you're trying to display executive presence, you're trying to show your credibility, your confidence, you don't want to look fidgety and ill at ease. So if it is an important pitch to a client or a major presentation, maybe grab a chair out of your kitchen, a fixed chair, and just sit on that. Something that you can sit nice and tall with good posture that you won't be tempted to wiggle around on. You can bring all these elements together and it's going to elevate how you present yourself. Now the last element, this little add-on number 6, that is truly everybody's personal preference, is your appearance. How you portray yourself on camera is entirely your decision. Nobody else can tell you how to do it. But remember, if you're trying to come across as professional, credible, authoritative, creative, whatever your field is, and you're trying to portray that in order to grow your career, then maybe think about a more professional way to dress. If this is not clear to you, I always say to people, go with the old axiom. Don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you wish you had. So the easiest thing is when you're on a meeting with everybody else, look at the most senior person and see how they are presenting themselves. That will give you a guide as to how you can dress. Never go more casual than the most senior person. Remember, you're trying to elevate your presence on camera. But that is a personal choice. If you're in a very creative, artistic field, then again, you would take your cues from the people around you. We need to have the self-awareness to, as they say, read the room. These are all simple tips, but I have seen them put into effect with great results. Don't obsess about every single one. Your homework is simply to go over the list again, figure out which of those you can solve easily and simply. Maybe it's just moving a lamp behind your laptop. Maybe it's going online and ordering yourself a basic, simple camera that can be separate from your laptop. Maybe it's just switching out the chair. Whichever's going to work best for you, try it and see what the result feels like. These are simple tips. I guarantee they work. Thank you for your time, and as always, I'll see you back next week.